There you go. The shows, or if you want to ask specifically about shows, I'm the voice of Denki Kaminari in My Hero Academia, Marco the Phoenix in One Piece, Ray Starling in Infinite Dendrogram, a show you should all watch. Let's see, Hiro Kaneshi in The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, and more and more and more. Yeah. Any Fire Force fans? Yeah. Overlord fans? Ace Attorney fans? I directed the anime and those as well, and a whole bunch of others, so those are my credits and more. All right, we have a question. Glasses. Luck. So I wanted to work on music and like record albums and stuff, but refused to move out of Dallas. There's some of that in Dallas, but Dallas is more like commercials and stuff like that. And so I was working in the studio in downtown. Well, they used to be downtown. Now they're in Carrollton. Dallas Audio Post. No, Dallas Audio Post. And I was doing like a Doritos commercial or something with this voice that I recognized. And when we were done, it was a great session. We had a good time. I said, "Hey man, I recognize your voice." He goes, "Do you know Dragon Ball Z?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I'm Vegeta and Piccolo." And I was like, "Oh, sweet man." And so we had a good time. And no, I learned I'm not I would freak out if I ever met Quentin Tarantino or Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. But I learned I don't freak out around celebrities. I did a AFI Dallas Film Festival in 2006. And I met like Bill Paxton and Hanson, and Bill Paxton was a great dude. Rip. Anyway, so we had a good time, and he was like, "Hey man, you're great. Funimation's looking for audio engineers. Do you want to work there?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So he told me to send Justin Cook an email and drop his name, and I'm in. And then I just started working there. And then almost immediately I was like, I want to do voice acting. And so Monica Rial was my first director. We were working on Triple X Holic. You know Triple X Holic? It's a really funny show. And at episode 24, she was like, "Oh crap, I forgot, I missed this, I need this Big Spirit 24A. And I was like, can I do it? And she goes, "Sure." And so I hopped in the booth and went, and the rest is history. That was great. And then just started doing little bits like that here and there, doing Walla, which is 4 people get in the booth at the same time, doing background voices and little "Hey, look out!" stuff like that. And then eventually Tyler Walker cast me as Jason the reporter in Fairy Tale. Yeah, that was my first named role ever, which was cool. Because actually, the first thing Tyler cast me in was like Soldier whatever, and like episode like 30 of Fairy Tale, I think. And he's like Natsu beats up a bunch of dudes, and then he saves the one, the guy I voiced, and he's like dragging him away, and he's screaming, "Ah!" Like I don't want to scream right now, but pulling him away, screaming, kicking, and Tyler's like, "Oh, you can scream. Okay, you're gonna be Jason, who just yells "cool" all the time." So, so that's how I got Jason. And so then Tyler and I really kind of hit it off. I engineered a lot of his shows that he directed, a lot of Fairy Tale. And then he made the decision to retire from directing and move full-time into writing. He really liked writing. And so he did, and then that's when the final season of Fairy Tale dropped. And he had been training me as a director for about a year until then. And then when he was making the switch out, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to direct Fairy Tale?" And I was like, "Hell yes." And so started directing Fairy Tale. So that's how I got to my current status, which is voice actor director. I don't do the audio stuff anymore, really. Sometimes I'll help out like and they like to put new engineers with me because I'm a director who can speak their language, you know. But other than that, I don't really do that anymore. That was the longest answer to a question of all time. I'm so sorry. Any other questions? Luffy. I would definitely love to. I have done a little bit, mostly independent projects, indie films. I've worked with Todd on his, a lot of his indie films. We did a 24-hour horror film race together. But nothing in any sort of major way. It's hard to get into that stuff when you're not represented. And that's actually one of my 2022 goals, is to take voice acting seriously. And the step one of that is to get an agent. Oh, yeah. Guys, give it up for Patrick. Oh, yeah. Hang on. I'm going to open one of these.
None yet. No, they're Nature Valley, like, protein bars. It's not, yeah, I know, that's what I thought at first.
No, it's going to get everywhere. I love the memes about that, though. Like, it just says crumbs instead of Nature Valley. That's great. Any other questions? Time coding? Yeah, so like we get, like we'll get a translated Japanese script, and then they give a time coder the Japanese script, and then the time coder goes through and says, so time code is, you might have seen it like in behind the scenes for movies, like you'll see like those like 8 numbers always moving, you know, while it's playing. That's time code. And it's 1 hour, or I mean it's hours, minutes, seconds, frames. And so to the frame, a time coder goes, you know, play, oh, okay, so this character, their mouth opens at this time code, okay? Oh, that one, you know, they just go through the script and time code every single line, you know, reaction, effort sound. Takes about 4 hours to do a 22-minute script. And then they just copy and paste the translation in. And then they give that a time-coded script to an adaptive writer, and then they actually write it. Some writers also time-code their own scripts, but most don't like to do that. It's not a very creative process. But I did it and got really good at it. I could do them in like 2 hours, and I even could do it, don't tell anyone, while I was working. I got real good at it. But yeah, that's what that is. Say again?
Is there any difference between like the time coding in the Japanese version as well as the English version? Like are there slight differences in where it actually starts, or is it all the same?
Well, I don't know about time coding, but yeah, no, the Japanese, they don't like to match their own flaps, and they don't like to, like, you'll see the character on screen, their mouth is closed, and so they should, like, if they notice something, they should go, a closed mouth notice, but the Japanese will go, ah! It's like, why did you do that? But, so yeah, it'll be a little off, a little different sometimes, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, a lot of people get burnt out on time coding, but so that's why it's like, let me just do it really fast, and then I won't have to do it as much. But any other questions? No other questions? Oh, Denki, yes? Going to theater. Like, so if you do theater and Mike McFarland sees you on stage and likes what you're doing, he's going to call you in. You know, if you do Shakespeare in the Bar with Caitlin Glass and she likes what you're doing, she'll bring you in. Other than that, you know, it's just kind of, when you get those opportunities, like we'll do open auditions sometimes, or, you know, I guess open auditions, and just the opportunities you get, just, you know, maximizing the opportunity, you know, so you don't want to come in and be kind of aloof or what too cool for school, but you don't want to be like overexcited and eager, you know, because we want to work with professionals, and so come in and just be nice and do a good job and do the best you can, and then, hey, I like that person, like, I'm going to bring them in again. Other than that, we're kind of in this new day and age where we're doing a lot of remote recording. We are eventually moving back into the building, but even then, our acting pool is so big now, you kind of have to have an agent. like it's kind of a first hurdle because we get demos sent to us constantly, and we can't listen to them all. And I feel bad, but like some just get thrown onto the pile, the digital pile. But if we see an email from a demo, with a demo that, and the actor is represented by an agent, then that gets a little more attention because having an agent doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good, but someone already gave you like the first step of approval, so it kind of saves us a little time. But other than that, networking, theater is kind of the best way, just getting into the theater scene, and then of course that doubles as the best training you can get for acting. Any other questions? Anything about any facet of the industry? I'm sorry, ask one more time. Adapting a script? Well, everything is done step by step. So like the timecoder gets the translation, then the script adapter adapts the script, and then they give that to the director, who then casts it and books the actors, and then the actors come in one at a time to record the show. So because of that, so the downside of that is like, we've often talked about putting multiple actors in the same booth for a scene, like two lead characters, like how can we get them together? Because there is an energy that you have to manufacture as a director, because the actor doesn't have their scene partner to work off of. So then that's on the director to kind of create that context and emotional tone for the actor. Yeah, we've talked about trying to get actors in the booth together. It just, the way the setup is, it just wouldn't work. But yeah, no, everything's step by step, so there's really no waiting, or there's waiting, or there's no real overlap or anything like that. So, because with the way it would have to be you could have two microphones in the booth, each actor on the microphone, and then there could be some bleed over, so you could maybe put up dividers to reduce that. But if one actor is nailing it, just doing such a good job, but the other actor isn't, well, this actor that could have got it done in an hour, you're now having to pay extra time to sit there and wait for this other actor who's struggling, to kind of get through it. So we tried it a couple times, and it's just easier and faster and better to just one at a time do their thing. Any other questions? Well, there's less experienced directors on non-indie stuff too. No, on indie stuff, honestly, it's a lot of fun, even if someone is not experienced or whatever. It's kind of an art through adversity kind of thing, where everyone's creative juices are just super flowing, and everyone just wants to make it happen and do a good job. So I've always had a good time on independent projects. In anime, you'll do live action dubs for movies. It used to be Funimation used to it's just we just got to get it done. We're doing this just to have an English track so that this DVD can go on Walmart shelves. Just get it done fast. We're all right, but we'd have the most fun with those. Be this is the chance. I'm going to use my goofiest voice for this character. And there's if you can find it, oh my gosh, what is it called? No, not Ghost Stories. Unfortunately, I was not a part of Ghost Stories. It's something ninja. If I think of it, it was a live action dub. Man. Anyway, we had a great time with that dub. Chris Sabat is hilarious in that. One of his lines is I'm going to defeat you like a teeny tiny box of kittens, or something like that. And he just says it so weird. Man, it's going to drive me crazy. Ninja Robot, not Robot Ninja. I'm gonna have to look it up. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of got on a tangent. Any other questions? Greatly. When it, huh? When it first happened, we didn't work for 7 weeks. And then they were like, we gotta finish My Hero Academia. So they came up with this system where there's this microphone, it's called an Apogee Mic Plus. It's a cool little mic where it can plug directly into an iPad. And so they're like, okay, microphone, iPad, and a mic stand. We'll send those out to the My Hero actors. And then just like, hopefully you have a closet, you know, and then just with all your clothes there, you have to put this stuff up here, and like, okay, it sounds fine. Like, let's just record it. And so we were able to find a way. It was a really slow process, though, because it required actors to do touchpad engineering. So already they're unfamiliar with engineering, but then they have to do it with their, like, fingers, you know? There's lots of Jeremy Inman complaining about his fat fingers. But we made it work, and we got it done. It took about twice as long. And then because we were able to do that with My Hero, then they were like, okay, let's roll out a bunch of these. We call them actor kits. We'll roll out a bunch of these, and we'll start recording again. And so basically it was every director had one show. Normally we do 2 shows at the same time. They're like, let's just do 1 show. So we did that for about a season, and then they were realizing that some actors would be like, hey, I've got a laptop. I'm just going to plug in my microphone into my laptop, and I can just do Source Connect. They're like, oh, okay, because that allowed the engineer to then engineer the session instead of the actor, and that got us back up to normal speed, and they're like, all right, everyone, we're moving to Source Connect. And so now we're back on Source Connect, so now we're back to 2 shows each director. So for the most part, we're basically back to normal, even though we're being remote. Sometimes, like, Source Connect will mess up, or you'll have to get extra takes for, oh, there's a internet dropout there. We got to get it again. So that'll slow things down a little bit, but for the most part, we're back to normal. Movie. No. Neither of those. No, thank you. Appreciate it. I will find it. This is gonna drive me insane. Ninja Girl. Brina Palencia was the lead voice. Oh man, hang on. I'm gonna text Brina. Hey, what was that goofy ninja live action film that Grundy directed? Ninja something. She's gonna be Kyle, leave me alone. Any other questions? Why would I out myself if I used a single? No, I don't care. I'm trying to think of, I was in We Without Wings. Does anyone know that show? Yeah. We Without Wings was, there was a moment in that show where someone sucks poison out of someone. And I was like this rock and roll dude. Oh my gosh, all these phones popped up. I'm going to look it up. And then I'm in High School DxD, and I was just like, let's choose my real name. I don't know. I would, if I dropped out of something. There's a show, I time-coded it. I don't think I was in it, but I time-coded it, and it was one of those shows where it's like, the main guy had to, like, you know, make the girls do something, and then they would transform into a weapon. It's like, okay. It's like, whatever. I'll keep time coding it, whatever. And then they're like, all right, here's the OVAs for this show. And then one of the OVAs, I was time coding it, and I was like, I think this girl's supposed to be 12. And so I stopped time coding it, and I emailed everyone of importance. I was like, hey, I'm not doing this show anymore, and take my name off everything I've done. And they're like, okay. And then that started a conversation. They're like, we're not going to dub this show. And so they pulled the dub for it. If I knew the name of it, I would maybe still not tell you, but I can't even think of the name of it. But it was a pretty pointless show. Yeah, no, the world did not need that show. Any other questions? Did I like directing Overlord? I love directing Overlord. I did all of Overlord. Huh? Seasons 1, 2, and 3. I'm very excited for season 4 and the movie coming out. No word yet. My guess would be probably end of 2022, but I have no idea. But no, yeah, Overlord was great because there's a few times, so like with voice acting, it's kind of a double-edged sword where it's like, it's cool because you can, in this show, I'm a teenage boy. In this show, I'm a giant lizard monster. Like you can do so much stuff. But the other side of that is anyone can kind of be anything. Like it's like, oh man, and Todd's a good friend of mine. Don't tell him I said this, but it's hard to imagine Todd or Natsu not being Todd. But the reality is there's a lot of people who could have been Natsu, you know? And that's true for every role. But sometimes when you're casting, there's just like this light bulb moment where it's like, it has to be this person. Like it would not work with anyone else, or it would work okay. And yeah, with me and Denki Kaminari. Well, I'm happy you said that. I hope that's true. Or like, cause I was gonna be Bakugo. And I turned it down because I wanted to be Denki. This is my Bakugo voice. Denki, you idiot! You damn rude! And Colleen was like, man, that is so good, Kyle. I think, though, Cliff really wants this. And I was like, all right, Cliff can have it. Cliff can have it. We're recording right here. It'll go up somewhere. But no, so with Overlord, when I was auditioning it, Chris Guerrero was an up-and-coming actor at the time. I just heard him as the narrator in Toriko, Tyler cast him in Toriko, and then I don't remember which came first, Overlord or his fairy tale character. What is his fairy tale? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on so many things today. But he auditioned, and so so the main character in Overlord, if you don't know, he's a big skeleton lich man, and he has this big booming voice, but then he has his internal monologue, which is his like gamer voice, because he's a human who got transported to this world, and his mental lines are like, I'm a nerd, like he kind of is just like a normal guy. And so I was like, do I try to have the same person do it, or do I have two different people do it? And so I was kind of auditioning with both ways. And Guerrero came in, and man, and like people would be like, they would try to do the lower voice and then have the high voice be something different, but it just sounded like kind of the same voice, just slightly pitched differently. And I was like, not exactly what I'm looking for. But Chris came in, and it sounds completely different. And when people find out, they're like, whoa, that was the same actor doing the two different voices. Like, I know! And so he crushed it. And so there's a few times in my career where it's been like that. But yeah, no, directing Overlord is a lot of fun. One of my favorite moments I've ever directed was in Overlord, episode 9, season 1, the Clementine fight, and the finish of that. That whole scene, directing Michaela on that, that was like the most focused in I've ever been, and man, I'm very proud of that scene. And that, or Mallory Rodak's character when she eats someone else with her boobs, that was cool. Yeah. Conventions. No. Well, yeah, but no, so there's a funny story. So Monica Rial and Brittany Karbowski both came up in Houston. They did a lot of stuff with Sentai, what used to be called ADV, and then everyone started doing stuff at Funimation. But they've been co-starring in shows for like 10 years down in Houston. And it wasn't until they passed each other in the halls at Funimation that they first met. And they were like, oh gosh, Monica, they finally met. Took 10 years of working on the same shows. We hang out and we all, it's like a lot of people the My Hero people, you're all like best buds, right? It's like, we're friends and we'll hang out, but like me and Chris Wakehamp are good buds. And me and Cliff are good buds, but I don't know, you don't necessarily see them, even. But so that's what conventions are cool, and that's why we're all really happy that it's back. And if you catch those moments of, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in 2 years, those moments have been great, and that's thanks to you guys having us out, coming out to a convention, so it's been great. I guess my most memorable is the one I used to get into voice with Denki Kaminari, which is, we basically just met you, so it's kind of telling that we all know your personality is flaming crap mixed with garbage. My favorite line is probably, I smell beef! No, and actually, I can't remember the exact line, so I love my boy Denki. Denki's great. Hey, we got a Natsu and a Lucy. Yeah. My favorite role I've done to date is, has anyone seen Space Battleship Tiramisu? Oh, okay, all right, a couple people. You should definitely watch it. It's like 9-minute episodes. It's very Adult Swim speed and humor. It gets R-rated, just a heads up. But I'm the main villain, Isuzu Ichinose, and he starts off as kind of a normal villain, but then he gets really silly. And so there are some great moments in that show, and that was like me and Anthony Bowling in there, and like Chris George and Rico Fajardo. Leah Clark wrote the scripts, and Jeremy Inman directed it, and the licensor for that show was like, do whatever you want. And so those rare moments, you're just like, yes. Almost. We can't straight up do, what would you call it, like a goofy dub or a, what do they call it, ghost stories? A joke dub. They call them joke dubs. We can't do joke dubs, but we had a really good time with Space Battleship Tiramisu. I got to say farts a lot. That's always a good time. And if you watch it, we call, my character has this, like, it looks like a scouter almost from DBZ, and he calls it his eye thingy. That was me. I came up with that. It became a running gag. It was great. Well, so it used to be, like Chris Bevins, it took him a year to dub Beck. Great show, if you ever get a chance to watch it. We can't do that anymore. So now the old school way of dubbing, which was the only way, we now call home video dubs. Every once in a while, one of those will come down the pipeline, but you have 2 months to record 12 episodes if you're only doing a home video dub. And you used to just work on direct one show at a time. Then it was you're directing 2 shows. One is a broadcast dub, which is an 8-week, or when the episode drops in Japan, the English dub would drop 8 weeks later. That's a broadcast dub. You'd work on a broadcast dub and a home video dub at the same time. Then it was you work on a simul dub and a home video dub at the same time. And a simul dub is either same day or 2 weeks later. And so now that's the standard, is the simul dub. Simul dub and home video dub at the same time, and now everything is simul dubs. And so that's how things mostly have changed. That said, the day-to-day, like, so now we have one extra review we have to do a week, but for the most part, it's not like we went from directing 40 hours a week to 90, now it's still just 40 hours a week. So the time has stayed the same, but the deadline. You used to be able to be like, oh, you're feeling, just, whatever, let's cancel. I don't feel like working today. Let's just cancel. Like, you can't do that anymore. Not that was done. But, yeah, deadlines are a lot more important now. No, we did simuldubs long before the Sony purchase. It was just, so we've been doing simulcasts for a long time, which is just when it drops in Japan, the subtitled episode drops in America, or the western part of the world. We'd been doing that for a long time. And so basically they just kind of were like, well, hey, we have these materials already. If we just got this, which was like the, we just needed the music and sound effects from Japan. It's like, if we can just get this from them, then we can start dubbing this right now. And so Japan was like, okay, let's try it, and it ended up being real successful. The Sony purchase, again, whenever a corporation buys anything, they'll make slight changes, but they bought it for a reason, which is like, hey, we like what you're doing, keep doing it, So nothing, excuse me. Let me get a drink there. Nothing really changed with Sony. And then Sony buying Crunchyroll, all that means is just now we are, well, okay, so with Sony, we just had more money to compete with like Netflix going for shows. So I'm going to arbitrarily put a number on it. So like we're doing 12 shows a season, then Sony bought us, it was 30 shows a season, and then with Crunchyroll now it's going to be like 45 or more. So it's just more shows, more dubbed anime more quickly, but day to day hasn't really changed that much. Yeah, it's definitely changed from like 1999. We refer to the Dragon Ball Z notices if someone is like newer, and they'll be like, it's like, oh, I need you to notice this thing, and we want them to go, and they go, huh? It's like, hang on, it's not 1999 anymore. Let's rein it in. But yeah, no, unfortunately, I don't know if dubs will ever shirk that taboo. Because, the Speed Racer dubs, the early dubs that were just not great. Because it was so brand new. No one had ever done it before, and the idea was like, just say it in English and then put it out there. Now it's like, we take it really seriously. And Funimation really changed the game because matching the mouth flaps used to not be important. But then when Funimation came along, that was like the day one, it was like, okay, that's the past. We're not going to do that anymore. We need to match flaps. Oh, Brina texted me. She said no clue. Wait a minute. I think I just remembered it. Robo Geisha? Yes, it's Robo Geisha. I just needed her to respond, and it would. Yeah. Yes, Robo Geisha. Go watch Robo Geisha. The English, if you can find the English dub, I have no idea. Oh man, that movie was goofy. Did I answer the question? I got distracted. I think I did. Yeah, sure. In the back. The most proud I've been in my career is those outtakes. Yes. Some of them are. We used to have a YouTube channel where we would upload all the outtakes, but then the YouTube algorithm just took it down, and we tried to explain, it's like, yeah, no, we have permission from the licenser, like Funimation, like we're good, and they were just like, does not compute, terminate, and they just destroyed the channel. We're like, great. But yeah, no, directing Eric is great. Eric is so good, and he's such a nice dude if you ever get a chance to meet him. Yeah, we had a blast. He was so right for that role. And so there was some strife at the beginning when we first announced that, because at the time, recording out-of-town actors, it was very rare, and it cost a lot of money. So at the time, Ace Attorney, the games had been out for, I think like 15 years, so it was like, yeah, this has the name Ace Attorney attached to it, but we don't know if it's going to do anything, so we don't really have the budget to like Gamecast, like da-da-da. So they're like just, I asked about that, should I use the Gamecast? They're like, no, for all those reasons, just go ahead, we'll do a full recast. And then it came out and it did really well. I was like, ooh. But it was great, I stand by my cast, it was great. But I did want to bring in some of the Gamecast if I could, so I'm still so happy he agreed to it. But Sam Riegel is the third Phoenix, I believe, in the games. Yes. And so in the show, there's a doppelganger Phoenix, basically. And I was like, hey, Sam, would you want to do this? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, sweet. And he was great. He came up with that voice and everything, Furio Tigre. It was awesome. And then Kyle Hebert, same thing. He was Miles Edgeworth in the games. And so there wasn't anything perfect like that. Like, that was just so perfect. I'm so happy that Sam agreed to do that, and a lot of people caught on quickly and were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. There wasn't anything exactly perfect like that, but there was a role that I was like, oh, I wonder if Kyle could do this, and he did a great job. I can't remember that. He was the prisoner guy. But he did a great job. So I wanted to, after it came out, it was like, man, this is a big deal. I wanted to bring them in if I could, and so glad I was able to do that. But no, yeah, Eric Vale, Ace Attorney, that was some of my best work and some of the best times I had directing. I mean, we try, so I directed it's not a remake, it's like a reimagining of Kinos Journey. And so, again, same thing, we did a recast. But then episode 11, there were some episodes that were the same as the original run. They just redid it. And so episode 11, just like in the original show, we finally get to see Kino's past. And so in the original Kinos Journey, Chris Patton, a Houston actor, he was the original voice of Kino. Kino or Hermes? I think it was Kino. And so, spoiler alert, Kino gets their name from someone else named Kino. And so I had Chris Patton, I was like, hey man, I want to bring you in. I think it'd be cool if you were the original Kino, since you were the original Kino. And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. So he did a great job. It was so cool having him in and doing that. So yeah, we try to, when those opportunities come up, that's super cool, and the fans really appreciate it. Because when we're directing a show, we're fans of that show too. So, we try to do that when we can. Those opportunities don't really come up that often. I couldn't even think of another example. But yeah, we try to do it when we can. I think if we dub the second season, I think the MO is to go back and dub the first season. I have no idea, but just older shows in general, a lot of anime, unless it's a huge hit, a lot of anime, it's kind of strike while the iron's hot, and that's when it drops in Japanese. So unfortunately, a lot of shows kind of come in, and then if we don't dub them, then they're never going to be dubbed, which is sad, but there's just so much anime. And then I don't know what kind of research they do, but I guess it's determined well, we didn't dub it and release it right when there was the most, the maximum interest in the show is when it first drops in Japanese. So that's when we try to have a dub come out. That was part of the motivation behind doing simuldubs. So once it's been years and that max interest is long gone, then it's well, we're not going to dub it. You got a question? A little bit. He would come up a lot when I was an engineer, but then when I became a director, he went back to Houston, and he was working mostly and directing a lot in Houston. So I at least recorded him a few times, but I never got to direct him. May you rest in peace. Any other questions? Hat. Or you both have hats. Black hat. Yeah, so you can, I mean, as far as accents, like, yeah, some people can do British accents. Some people have a British accent and can turn it off. That is somewhat common, but to your point, you can still recognize, like, the timbre and quality of someone's voice. Like, even if Caitlin Glass is doing a British accent here, you can tell when she's not that it's still her, you know. But she can turn it off. It just really depends on the role. Because, like, most people get cast in anime, like we'll get demos and it's like, here's my Bugs Bunny impression, here's my Vegeta impression, here's this. It's like, well, that's not what we're looking for. We want to know what you sound like. We want to know what you sound like, angry, quiet. We want to hear what you sound like, sad. Like, it's all we cast on your voice. So that's why you can, from show to show, role to role, you can hear the similarities. Like, you can pick out the voices. But, so it is a big compliment when someone's like, I had no idea that was you. Like, I'm the judge's brother in Ace Attorney, and everyone is always like, wait, what? But it's like, because that's just a completely different, goofy voice. Like, if this is how I normally sound, judge's brother, objection! Like, he sounds like that. And so no one ever picks that out. But it's just because it's in a completely different voice. So those opportunities where you're doing something completely different are a little more rare. So that's why there used to be, and some people still claim that this is the case. It's, oh, Funimation uses the same 6 actors. It's like, well, no, you're just listening, you're just watching like the most popular shows, and we use the veterans in those big shows. But our actor pool is, we have 1,500 actors that we use, and we use them frequently. Now that there's a lot of shows coming out, and overall the popularity of anime has grown, people are starting to see like, oh wow, there are a lot of different actors out there. And we do, you know, if I like Chris Wakehamp, I'm not going to be like, ooh, I'd love to have Chris in this. No, but I'm not going to use him because Dragon Ball fan XX214 might say that I use him too much, you know. We try to differentiate and be dynamic with our casting. It's actually something I'm very proud of myself. I've gained a reputation of bringing up newer people and newer voices and using veterans and not their normal shtick, you know. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but sort of. Sweater, green sweater. Oh. Yeah, that does happen. Her cute characters. Tia, she has a good range though. Yes, and it's most common, I'd say, in female-sounding voices that can do little boy voices, because, like, I can't do a scrappy little boy voice. It would sound weird. But so usually we get female-sounding voices, people with female-sounding voices to kind of gruff it up a little bit and sound a little scrappy, and they can kind of pitch it down, and it's like, duh, that's a little boy. Well, Christina V can do it, but she has a big range too. Some people can just do that boy voice so well that that's what they get cast in a lot, and they're happy for the work, but they're like, man, like, let me know if you need anything besides a boy voice, you know, and I'm like, I know, but you just do it so well. So yeah, I'd say that's the most common typecast, and it does happen. And you know, you're conscious of it, and so you want to try and bring them in first. So actually, I was really excited. I can't remember who's directing the show, but Krista McGuire has a great boy voice, and she does it really well. And she's a great actor, but she gets cast as doing boy voices a lot. But she just recently, maybe like 5 months ago, I can't remember the name of the show, but she was like a woman in that show, and I'd never like heard that voice from her. Well, that's a new one too. No, that's her. That was cool. So, and stuff like that we like to do too, where the Dukes of, what's that called? Okay, I almost said the Dukes of Hazzard. Kristen McGuire and Cliff Chapin are married in real life, and then they got cast as this romantic couple in this show. And so it's fun to do that because they will promote it together, and like it's cute to see them in like special features and stuff. But also as a director, there's a lot of natural chemistry already there that you don't have to worry about. So, but we try to do that. I try to do that too. Like in Fire Force, there's these two characters, Vulcan and Lisa? Yeah, Lisa. They're kind of a couple, but they're like paired together in the show. And so that I cast Jason Liebrecht and Elizabeth Maxwell, and they're a couple in real life. So I said, you guys can never break up now. I'm sorry. I cast you in this show. Yeah, that does happen. Anyway, I keep like answering a question and then going off on a tangent. Natsu. That was great because I kind of snaked Marco because the Phoenix, no one ever asks this, but if it's like, hey, what's your favorite mythical creature? I'd be like, the Phoenix. I love Phoenixes. I play Magic the Gathering a lot, and whenever a new set comes out, the first thing I do is look and see if there's any new Phoenixes, because I have a binder that's full of just Phoenixes. And so I was like, man, Marco the Phoenix, like, I want to be Marco. And it'd be something a lot different. I like kind of sit in the mid-range. Marco would be a little deeper. And I was like, I want to do Marco. So Jerry Jewell was directing One Piece at the time, and Marco just had like 2 lines. And I was like, hey, Jerry, I'd love to. And I knew that Marco comes back in a big way. I was like, hey, Jerry, like, this guy, Marco, who's this guy? Like, can I just jump in and do this voice? And he's like, yeah, sure. Yes. And then, so that was like episode like 150 or something like that, and then he comes back from Marineford, so that was cool. Yes, so man, there was a licensing issue with One Piece where we had to take a 2-year break from dubbing it, and so we started dubbing it again. So we were like slowly catching up, and now we're back to being behind, but now we're slowly catching up. So I've been hearing all about the Wano stuff, and I'm very excited for Marco to come back. I've been getting a lot of Marco love since conventions came back, and I asked this on the last panel, but quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you started One Piece because of the pandemic. Anyone? Few people? Few people? Yeah, and so I think kind of that's what's happened in mass is people are like, well, I'm stuck inside. I've been wanting to watch One Piece, but have been too intimidated by the episode count, but now's the time. Let's start watching it. And so I've been getting a lot of One Piece love, which is really great because Marco is super cool. And yes, I'm very excited for Wano. It's going to be awesome. And the director, so now Anthony Bowling is directing it. And I was like, man, I'm excited for Wano. He's like, yeah, I can't wait till we get there in 3 years. I'm just like, cool. So I'll dub it someday. It won't take 3 years, but it is going to take a little bit of time. And the hope is, I don't know if it's a goal, but the hope is by the time we'll hopefully catch up so that the last episode comes out at the same time in English and Japanese. That's the goal. All right, I have time for one more question. Who hasn't asked one? Stephanie. Get an agent. That's, it used to be like we would have open auditions once every 3 months, and that was a good way to get in. We don't really do those that often anymore. Maybe now it's once a year. But like I said, I don't know if you guys are here yet, but one of the first questions was talking about that, and it's just kind of with our actor pool and the amount of people wanting to get in now is so huge. You kind of have to have an agent because when we see that you're represented, someone already gave you a check mark of approval, and so that's just one less thing that we have to worry about because it's harder now with these increased deadlines to take a chance on someone who's completely new. So having an agent is definitely very important. And then networking, we were talking about networking earlier, doing theater, improv, Shakespeare in the bar, any kind of thing like that, you'll get into those circles that some Funimation directors and other actors are in those. So if you work with those people, they'll be like, oh man, I had a great time with Stephanie. Let's bring him in for this bit part or something like that, and then that's how you grow from there. But unfortunately, the days of just like, hey, open auditions, let me just go in there and give it a shot, like those kind of are gone. And that's just thanks to COVID. Because now we're in this mad dash of trying to like catch up and do backlogs before it's too late. And so we just don't have time to like develop talent really anymore. We can, it's just very specific situations. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you. I'll be here all weekend.